up these gaps. And I'm very, very happy that actually we have our panelists coming from all over the globe. We have Mimosa coming from here, which actually has less differences than we have in Western Europe. So I hope she will tell us about that. And then we have Rabia over here, where there are quite a lot of differences, okay? So, you know, and then of course, we are going to have Margarita, who's also going to tell us how science technology can be used for collaboration, peace, and security. So these are also key intrinsic points if we want to be moving the world forward. And if you think lots of changes have happened, 2012, 2017, unfortunately, there are small, subtle changes, but not dramatic changes, which we would like to see. So what is it that we can do to have these dramatic changes? Same thing with these scissor diagrams. You've seen them. I'm sure anybody's interested in this topic. And so this was 1999, 2003. These are the EU figures. And this is now 2013 to 2016. And you see there are some changes, 7-8%, but not anywhere near equality. What is hopeful and understanding is that middle level is now starting to flatten out. So the scissor diagrams are not as far away from each other, but when you start coming to the leadership, we still have that challenge. And just to say that, you know, recently there was a UK study showing the cost of economy of losing women from STEM. It was estimated to a huge £2 billion. It's economic challenge as well. And the thing is, we have 33% of the intake at undergraduate levels. And by the time you get to the professor level, there's only 9%. And that's waste of education, training, talent, of how it should be exploited. So, you know, and this is really, it's a big puzzle, it's a big problem, it's a multifaceted problem, many things are needed. So now talk about the gap, reality in numbers, out of balance, all employees, leadership employees. And it doesn't matter whether you look at healthcare, education, profit, software, energy, manufacturing, you see, leadership. And interestingly, the highest leadership is nonprofit and NGOs. Okay, because I think we start looking at what are the values and what we're looking at. And then here's another one. Reality in numbers globally, equally skilled, where's the progress? When you start going from primary, secondary, tertiary, and you go to leadership roles, we're talking about 32%. And this is the 2017 World Economic Forum data. And recently, the World Economic Forum data from 2020 is looking at the new IT, AI technologies, cloud computing, engineering, data. And once again, we have similar challenges. And these are the new technologies that are going to make a lot of difference in the coming 10, 20, 30 years. So what do we do? And you know, empowering and sharing power. Well, you can't share something which you don't have. And this is a big challenge. And the troubling results that came out of the Economic Global Forum is going to take 99.5 years to reach gender parity. I don't think any of us on this panel are going to be alive to do that, but I would like to, at least the young generation, to be there. So what can we do so that that 99 years becomes a little bit shorter? What can we do? So, you know, so we need action. Okay, yes, but what can we do in reality? The reality is overcoming gender bias needs lots of direction. It's not just one thing that's going to make a difference. From education to politics to family, countries, equality, promotion, opportunities, career paths. We need all of it because we have this huge thing we are trying to pull and we can't pull it alone, okay? And then, you know, how do we do? We share knowledge, we empower people, we teach, we mentor, and I'm very pleased to hear that we are going to hear from our panelists parts of snapshots of how these are being used and can help us even more. You know, collaboration, putting up ladders, leaving them there. But actually, once you're up the ladder, make sure that they don't get pushed down again. So it's more than that. It's not just getting up the ladder, staying there, having support from all of you to keep it there. And you know, and we've made lots of progress. But the bad news is the effect of COVID, unfortunately, has pushed us back, because the limited gains we managed are now being eroded. And somebody's going to ask me, well, why is that? Why is it not affecting men as well? Well, here's the reason. Economic crises always hit women harder. They tend to earn less, they have fewer savings, they are more in the informal economy, they have less access to social protection, unpaid care, domestic work, often single parent households. So this is what's worrying me, is that we were making progress, but COVID is really unduly going to affect women who are already challenged. So what can we do? And I'm not going to put anything, I mean, we could talk about how big and thick is the glass ceiling, not the gap, okay? The gap is one thing, the ceiling is another. The only reason I mentioned this is because we did Beijing Plus 20, where I did the editorial report for CSW Geneva. And 25 years later, we are still challenged. And what is the sad part? This deep ingrained bias is not just men, it's also women. So we have to all work together. And I just want to finish with this slide. You know, I can consider myself oceans apart from everybody, or I can say I'm bridging the gap. And what's important is in order to help this, we have to equally help contribute ourselves and our colleagues. So it's not going to happen without all of us doing our part. And now more than ever, it's really important because of the way the COVID has hitting our economy and especially women. So thank you very much. Afton, you are silent.
Thank you so much, Manjit, for starting this panel out and giving us some perspective. We need this kind of perspective to be able to go ahead. And I will say, from years of association, Manjit has been a pioneer and a leader in this, particularly at CERN and with students. And she has made a difference in the international world. And I'm sure that because of her efforts, we're going to be able to move forward. But this really certainly has set the stage for talking about what are the issues. Thank you very much. You've been a real leader, and we appreciate your getting this panel together.
Thank you, Afton.
Next, I would like to introduce Professor Mimosa Rostova. And hello. She is a university professor, scholar, a columnist, a novelist, a playwright, and human rights activist. She was born in Skopje in Macedonia, and there she has done some amazing things. She is a recipient of the NATO NS National Science Foundation Science for Peace postgraduate grant. She's done many things, and her ability to author and explain so many publications, 90 scientific publications, and she's received a patent for this, has made such a difference for people to understand better STEM and the empowerment of women. Thank you. And
thank you, Martin.
Yes.
Okay, my talk for today is related to what has, okay, I'm not capable, okay, just skipped some slides. Just to remind people, to remind women in STEM that it shouldn't be forgotten who was the first who started all this struggle for our equality and balance in the world that used to be men's world. So this is Maria Sklodowska-Curie that I discovered. She was patient number 0, actually, who helped us walk easily towards the goal, towards the gender equality in the science and technology and engineering and maths world. So see, the scientific conference in 19,000 looked terrible. I mean, you can see what is missing here, something really wrong in this picture. Of course, not a single female on this picture. 11 years later, however, something different happened. This is a Solvay Scientific Conference in Brussels. And this is Marie Curie, the single event here. This is a small event, but it is a breakpoint, melting point, but still it is not the rule because one bird doesn't comprise spring. So the next year, in 2 years from that event, there is a second event, also Marie Curie, the single female person among those male scientists, stepping bravely into the men's territory. And then again, 21 years after, in the 20th century, she is still persisting in the men's world. But the real change happened in the Solvay Conference in 1933. 3 women. This is a mother's legacy: Irene Curie, Marie Curie, and another physicist, nuclear physicist, Lisa Meitner. So it didn't end up with just those 3 people when she was gone already in 1934. There were other women attending conferences. So we can say that the ice was really broken at that point. And this is the year when we can say that we are becoming part of the scientific world legally. I mean, participation at the conferences and presenting results means that we are really becoming part of it. So what was the history behind this story of Marie Curie being number 1, doing this for us? She was born in Warsaw. Warsaw was at that time under occupation of Russia, and the Tsar Nikolai IV was killed by Russian revolutionary students because the higher education was forbidden in STEM for the Polish students. In Poland, they had to go to Moscow and St. Petersburg to study STEM. Because they killed the Tsar, they didn't deserve to have STEM, higher education in technology and science. But what about women? Women couldn't study any higher education. Zero possibilities for women in higher education. Maria Sklodowska was born as a 5th child. This is pretty challenging to be a 5th child in a family, the youngest one. Also, it is very important for her history. It's that she lost her mother and her grown-up sister, Zosia, and she became practically the brain of the family, the propellant of the family. So the discrimination about the Tsar I already mentioned. Forbidden for Polish students, she couldn't study, but she made a deal with her oldest sister. She went to study in Sorbonne in Paris, and Maria should work and support her while she's studying, and then the vice versa should happen. She found a job in a sugar factory with the family of Żurawski family, industrialist family, and she fell in love with Kazimierz Żurawski, but this love was forgotten. They have to break up because she was poor and he wasn't, and they couldn't continue anymore. So this was the first discrimination challenge that she faced. Then she attended this kind of university. They were flying schools in Poland, universities, like evening schools with variable address. Every evening, they would announce a different hall, a place where the classes they are going to attend. And then Marie went to Sorbonne. The time has come when she won a master's degree in physics, and the next year, 1894, she became a master in mathematics. This is a fact that nobody really knows. Then the most important part of what she became is meeting Pierre Curie. This is the man that helped her become the star, the icon, actually to be valued as due to her own merits, not just because she was his wife. And this is their wedding present from Pierre is a bicycle when they went on a honeymoon on a Tour de France. Then Pierre helped her with the research, offered an instrument which was better than what she used as like Becquerel used, a photographic camera. This was an instrument that she used. Then she became, guess what? First lady who won PhD degree in France. Gabriel Lippmann was her mentor. He was a tough one, though. This is the toughest part in her life. She was supposed to win the Nobel Prize along with Pierre, but the Nobel Prize Commission was claiming that she didn't contribute sufficiently. So Pierre was sending the notebook, the lab log notebook, to prove that there were two handwritings on this book, that she is writing, calculating, and then he is writing, calculating. So this is the proof here that was sent to the Nobel Prize Committee. And they won the prize after 2 attempts. And after 2 unsuccessful attempts, Curie family, Curie couple won the prize. Irene and Eve, this is the year after the Nobel Prize. They were their children. This is the life of well-being, providing a lab, which was a former morgue in which they separated polonium and radium from the uranium ores. And then it happened, the biggest grief in her life. She lost the husband, the support, the best friend, the one who understood her values, the one who put her where she belonged. And then they gave her at Sorbonne his place. And she became a first professor because they didn't want to lose the knowledge and the lab that Pierre was having along with her. Then they put her, just making her unhappy as ever, working in the lab, but being undermined, undervalued all the time. Then she decided to go through another breaking point and see if she can enter the Academy of Science. Imagine she was a Nobel Prize winner and there is another candidate for the French Academy of Science, which is Professor Branly, known to be Marconi's assistant, and Marconi is the one who stole Nikola Tesla's patent, for which he lost on the Supreme Court in the United States. For Wi-Fi, and this is the person. He was more man, more Catholic, and more everything than Marie Curie. Whether one female should enter the academy was a question. Then Excelsior was nationalist paper that criticized her for being Jewish, which she wasn't. Judging from her facial features and from her handwriting, imagine. And then the handwriting was judged by her love letter that she exchanged with her lover, who was Paul Langevin. And Paul Langevin was a mathematician and physician who was married, but he had a terrible marriage and they were in a relationship. And then they used all this to discriminate her, to humiliate her, to stigmatize her in the newspapers, to make riots in front of her home, in front of Curie's home, just to make her lose at the competition at the French Academy of Science. Then immediately after this event, she won the 2nd Nobel Prize, and she was buried in the Curie's tomb. But then after some time, 1995, she was transferred to Pantheon, Paris, with a ceremony of highest honor of 2 governments, Polish and French government. And she is the first one to be buried in Pantheon. And she was the winner of, let me summarize. She was the winner of 2 Nobel Prize winners. She was the Nobel Prize winner, a mother of a Nobel Prize winner. her family won 6 Nobel Prizes. And then she was the first PhD, first professor. And then Marie Curie, the year 2000, she was proclaimed to be among the 10 most influential people ever in the history. So this is the last slide showing how far we have gone from the day one when she made the breakthrough till today. So we, my country, proudly I may announce, it is a champion according to these statistics here, that we have 93%. We overtook actually, but this is not true. This is just the virtual reality. This is not real. I mean, the political positions, leading positions, the management positions are always led by men in my country, but Europe looks like this. Everywhere where it is green, it is over about 40 to 50% and over. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much. It was fascinating to hear this history and to become enlightened by your remarks about the progress that women has made and the history. We really do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Next, Rabina Syed is from Nigeria, and she is going to speak to us and share a bit, because she is the full professor of physics. She has done so much as the deputy director of research in Kano. She's also the director of academic planning in Bayero University. She has been a Ford Foundation International Fellow. She has been a visiting scholar, and she's raised a family. She's done so many things. And so we are really going to be interested to hear how she did this. She's speaking on role modeling and mentoring as a key component for getting and retaining the young generation in STEM. That's our future. Abia.
Thank you very much, Afton, for that introduction. And welcome, everyone. I'm glad that you're here. It's an honor for me to be speaking to you. I will try this and see if I will be able to share my screen. Please do give me a moment, and then I would. Okay. I always find it a little bit not so. So I'll try again. Yeah. I don't know. I need to. Is it? Can you see the screen?
Yes. Now
Yes,
we can
fine.
see
Okay.
the screen. Thank you.
I don't know if I need to like modify. So
I think it's fine.
it's fine.
Yes,
Okay.
good.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't seem to like see it. So, this is it. I will be speaking on role modeling and mentoring as a key component for getting more of the young people into STEM and probably also retaining them. So I just want to like say these few words. Why we all need a role model. If the young people are listening to me, it's, I want to speak a little bit about why we all need a role model, and then what is about being a role model, and then the mentoring process, and then I want to give a little bit of notes to mentors, and then a note to the mentees. The reason we need a role, all of us need a role model, one way or the other, is that role models help to show us the way. Once we're able to see someone doing something that we want to do, and then that gives us courage. I say this from experience. in my university, it was established, it became a full-fledged university in 1977. And up till 1999, there were no females in the department. And then suddenly, because of the agitations of women, and then the call for gender equality, and also the need for women to be seen, and any institution that is seen to give a chance to women was also highly regarded, and also it helps in funding. So my institution wanted to get more females into that department that didn't have for 20 years. And then we were employed in 1999. And as soon as we became lecturers within the university, a lot of the females that were scared of physics and didn't want to join suddenly gained interest. During the year I graduated, there were 4 of us females, and there were 23 males. And but now, if I tell you today, we have in a class of 50, we would have about 27 females. So it's really been a lot of success, and I put that as a key reason, because being a role model, being there for the young ones to see, encourage them to also pursue. Now, coming to being a role model. In order to be a role model, you must be seen to stay the course and set an example, and let the young ones know that, yes, it is doable. It may be difficult, but it's something that you can overcome. And therefore, you need to be strong to be a role model. And while you're a role model, you are essentially also mentoring. And in mentoring, it's the same thing. You will have to set examples. This is the way to go. And these are the things, and these are the do's and don'ts. And the mentoring that I do for the young teachers that come into the department is to let them know that if there is a job to be done, that they should stay and make sure that they do the job, they do it well, because that's the only way they would not, there wouldn't be a loophole to say, okay, you say we should get more females. Now we have the females and they are not doing it. So there's a need to keep mentoring them, letting them know that it's not just being on the job, but also making sure you do the right thing. Now, as a note for mentors, we have to realize that it is not an easy job, because the young will keep coming, they will keep asking questions. Sometimes you have answered the questions, but they will come back again to seek guidance. So it requires a lot of diligence, a lot of patience. You have to be patient with the questions that they ask and be able to guide them. And that's the only way they will not be frustrated. Otherwise, they will get frustrated if you don't give them the guidance. Then a note for the mentees, and this goes for all the young ones that will be hearing me, and some of them are my students, and some of them are people that I've met, that I've mentored, is that in the course of seeking the guidance of the mentees, they should also realize that the mentor has a lot to do. You will get mentees asking you for references, and they would ask for the references and they want it in an instant, as if you are just there to do that and not doing any other job. So I want the mentees to realize also that in spite of mentors trying to mentor them, to give them guidance, to show them the way, they have a lot also to do. And therefore they will have to give, if they want references or they should be able to schedule their time and give time for the mentors to answer or to give them feedback. Now I have placed this picture here just as an explanation to show that this job of mentor, the mentor-mentee thing, is something that has to be done together. This is a thatched roof. In the part of Nigeria where I come from, the thatched roof, this thatched, you have a rounded building, which is usually made of mud, and then the roof will be from thatch, and it's usually from either the corn stalk after the harvest, and then it is knitted into a mat which forms this. But after it is done on the ground, it will need to be carried and placed on the roof. But it is not possible to carry it with one hand, because if you attempt to carry it in one hand, it just breaks into pieces. So there, strategically, people would be at edges where they hold it until they get to and then they place it on the roof. That is important, and that underlies what is required of mentors and mentees, that it is a job that needs to be done together in order to achieve success. And then I want to briefly give this quotable quotes that we may need in our day-to-day, that all the things that we are doing, as Marie Curie said, we've just heard about Marie Curie, so I always love this, the quote from Marie Curie, that you cannot hope to build a better world. You cannot hope to build a better world without improving the individuals. To that end, each of us must work for our own improvement. And then I've put this proverb, is an African proverb, is that a good wind is no use to a sailor who doesn't know his direction. So this would be a guide to us in whenever we are mentoring and guiding, we should guide them to know the direction they are going. If they don't know the direction they are going, no matter how much we try to mentor them, then so this proverb applies. Now, a little bit about myself, a few words about me, the challenges I encountered and strategies for overcoming them. I encountered a lot of challenges, and this is because I got married early, immediately after my secondary school. The usual thing is to go to university. But then I didn't go to university. I took another trajectory and I got married. And then the story about the marriage and so on, I told Afton and the rest, but it's not going to, I'm not telling it here. But just to let you know that because of that, I had 3 children by the time I went back to the university. And that was a lot of challenge. Then what are the strategies I used to overcome this? Fortunately for me, I was in Nigeria, where family cohesion, I think, just like India as well, we always have the family together. And because the family are together, you always have one person that will help you take care of some things. And then it was also not too expensive to be able to get a helper. And so you can get a helper, probably an older woman who comes in, like a nanny, and then they would help you. So those were part of the strategies and then a lot of patience, lots of being focused, a lot of managing skills for managing time in order to be able to read and then also take care of my house. Then the role mentors in my career path and how I found a mentor, I wouldn't say I really have a role model or a mentor, but I was somebody who read a lot. I read so much about Marie Curie, for example, and then I was keen about any woman who was strong enough to be able to make a point. If I read about any woman who was strong and had a dream and was able to achieve the dream, I say, okay, I want to be like that. Those were the kinds of role model and the people I looked up to, which helped me in my career path. How science helped me to get where I am today? Yeah, I think really science, and particularly physics, helped me to be where I am today. Because every time you say physics, there are few women in science and fewer women in physics. I think this is what helped. So there was always somebody willing to help. Then, so one key message and advice that I would give to younger women to help them with their future, like I said, they should be focused. When they are focused, they should know the direction in which they are moving, and then they should be sure that this is what they want, and they should stay the course. So this is the advice I would give to any young, I want to appreciate Margarita for linking me to this panel, and to Manjit and Afton for accepting that, having confidence that Margarita actually selected somebody who is capable of being on this panel. And then I want to thank the Mother Legacy Project and the CSW team for putting together all these labyrinth and being able to overcome the labyrinth in order to get this CSW 65 going. And this is a teamwork. We'll continue to be together to do this. We have to be a cohesion and do everything together. And these are some of my contacts for those who would, and you can also Google Rabia Salihu Said. So thank you very much for listening to me.
And thank you. We have really gained from this presentation, and we thank you for being here and telling of your journey, a great journey, and you're still on it. Our last speaker, before we hear from our special rapporteur, Mutu Kobia, I am thrilled to introduce her, Mrs. Margarita Kalina Pohl, and she's going to speak today on empowering women in STEM through non-proliferation training and outreach, achieving international peace. So we're talking about a very noble goal. So many people at the United Nations have this goal, but in this case, Margarita has really done something to achieve this journey in STEM towards this goal. Margarita.
Thank you very much for your kind and generous presentation, Afton. And taking this opportunity, I would like to thank organizers of this panel and Mother Legacy Project and all of you who invited me and also put endless hours and effort in making this panel happen. I know there was a lot of work, it's hard work. So, and to all the attendees who found time to join us today. And just a little disclaimer before I start, I am not a scientist. I think I'm the only speaker at this panel who doesn't have a formal academic background in STEM. But throughout my career in the research related to the weapons of mass destruction and proliferation, I learned to appreciate science. I actually learned some science by taking professional courses, for like Science for Dummies, which helps me understand the basic principles of the work I'm doing. And also, I had an incredible opportunity to work with amazing women in STEM from all over the world, especially through various training programs, which my center does to engage women in STEM in broader international security domain to advance their roles as decision makers, as policy makers, and also as technical consultants to policy research on these important issues. Just very briefly, I represent the James Martin Center for Non-Proliferation Studies. We are a private think tank, NGO that focuses specifically on research in weapons of mass destruction and proliferation, arms control, nuclear security, and other related issues. And our second area is training. Our mission is to train a new generation of non-proliferation experts who could work and deal with challenges of today's world. And I always like to show this picture. Do you believe that these women could be the future leaders? I do, because I have met these amazing women. They are participants of our Visiting Fellows program, which we offer to junior and mid-career professionals from all over the world and from different backgrounds. And on this picture, you see women from Egypt, Pakistan, Turkey, Indonesia, and Mali. And 4 of these women have a background in STEM, including biology, nuclear engineering, chemistry, and they are all holding the certificates of the accomplishment of training in non-proliferation. So I think it's a good setting for what I'm going to say for the rest of my presentation. So what I would like to start just with a few observations about how roles and perceptions of women in international security have changed and continue to change. And I think that United Nations Security Council Resolution 1325 was a great breakthrough in recognizing the important role of women in the prevention and resolution of conflict and promotion of peace and security. We need to remember that women are better peacemakers and they're better negotiators. It's been there are actually practical evidence that shows that women could achieve a lot more, and also teams which have women representation also are more effective and more productive. So in my field, women play prominent roles in nuclear non-proliferation and disarmament. And the pictures on the bottom of this slide, I think I liked what Professor Ristova showed. She showed the picture of old stiff-looking man sitting, but also it was a different era. But look how dynamic this picture is. And this is the woman who is standing in the. She is ambassador from Costa Rica, Elaine White, and she's also the alumni of our institute. And she was the chief negotiator of the very important treaty which came into force this January, and this is the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons. So this is, and she's celebrating this moment. And the picture next to it is her embracing hibakusha. And if you know, hibakusha in Japanese means the survivor of the atomic bombing in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And to me, these are so. There is so much warmth, but also power in these pictures. So, but what I am also, I don't know who is our audience today. If you are also, if you're women in STEM, and if you consider international careers in international security, peacekeeping, non-proliferation, there are so many opportunities for you there. But before we talk about opportunities, let me say a few words about barriers. And cultural stereotypes and expectations, something that we're all familiar with. And for the sake of time, I will just go to the second is lack of visibility and recognition of women contributions. And in my field, on a daily basis, I work with women who are working in the nuclear safety area, nuclear security fields, chemical security, biological security and safety. On a daily basis, I see amazing work they do. But when you go to Vienna or other international meetings, where other international meetings are held, mostly it's women or it's men who represent their countries, their organizations at these conventions. And I think that if we change this approach and help promote women's visibility in international arena, that will help advance them in their careers at their home organizations, but it will also help us change the perceptions and that women are present in the international security. And there are also a lot of women in STEM. Another problem which we face is that the problem of panels, and a panel is a panel which consists of only male experts at conferences or professional meetings. And one of the arguments is that, yes, we couldn't find women speakers on this topic. And Ambassador Bonnie Jenkins from the United States, who is the founder of the Women of Color Advancing Peace and Security, it stands for WCAPS organization, she created a sort of like a database, which she calls, I think, expertise pipeline, where she, by topic, she lists all women experts. All you need to do is just to go to her website and you will find a speak on any topic, whether it's cybersecurity, peacekeeping, illicit trafficking in nuclear material, all topics. And there are so many women out there. You just need maybe to look a little bit harder. So, and Rabia did a great job talking about the importance of the mentors in women's lives and allies. And what, that's the problem that some women have, is that, they either work at an organization which they think doesn't have allies for them, or it's hard for them to find a mentor. For me, I was very fortunate to actually work with women who have background in nuclear physics or other related field, and I could come to them and I could talk to them and ask them to explain me a particular technical concept which I might not understand. And they will never say, well, let me make sure that you will understand this as a woman, No, she will just tell me, how it works. Because I've been told sometimes, by some male counterparts that, let me make sure that you understand it as a non-scientist and as a woman. So we need to change that. And I think women talking to other women is something that helps overcome this barrier. Also, it is important to recognize that many graduates, whether they have a STEM background or policy background, sometimes they don't have a clear vision of various career paths. And I think that's what we as a community of women could help each other. We could talk to young students, and one of my colleagues at my center, she has launched an initiative. It's called Young Women in Non-Proliferation, where she talks to undergraduate students, mostly in the US, but I think this actually could take an international span. We could create some international network of mentors who could advise women on the career path in peace building or international security, and how STEM background could be applied to these careers. So what are the opportunities? I want to me, what presents the opportunity is that women in STEM take a great interest in issues related to weapons of mass destruction and proliferation and international security. And why do I say that? Is because I know from my personal experience, when we offer a training course for women on nuclear security and non-proliferation, and especially if it focuses on women in STEM, we usually receive over 100 applications. And we could only accommodate 30 people. So to me, this is a great indicator of an interest. And women, once we advertise the course, we have to turn down some women, and it breaks my heart, but we have limited resources. But Manjit mentioned that COVID brought some, there will be implications for women, which I agree. But also, I'm an optimist. I look at this from the positive side. I think that also COVID allowed us to hold events which include more women, which actually increase visibility of women. And in January and February, we had a training course where Manjit was speaking to a group of 80+ women from all over Africa with a background in STEM. So that allowed us to, we didn't turn down anybody. We were very happy. So I also want to say that my field, the field of non-proliferation, is the interdisciplinary field. This is where we build bridges between science and policy. And women in STEM have amazing opportunities in the field. And I'm not advocating that they drop all the other work and join the field, but it just, it diversifies your portfolio, your opportunities. And there are a lot of academic and professional training opportunities. They include, there are several graduate level programs, including a program at my institute, which offer non-proliferation training, a degree in non-proliferation and terrorism studies. And recently this program was designated as the STEM program. There are other opportunities. For the sake of time, I'll just, if you have any questions about what you see on the slide, please email me. But I also want to say that, what you could do with your STEM background, there are opportunities in the international organizations, such as International Atomic Energy Agency. The new director of the IAEA, Raffaele Grossi, made a pledge to reach the gender parity in his agency, and he's working very hard to do that. There are other organizations such as a Comprehensive Test Ban Treaty Organization, United Nations Office for Development Affairs, who is actually headed by a woman, Izumi Nakamitsu, and many other organizations. And there are networking opportunities. So I want to, I actually liked that Professor Ristova started us with the description of Marie Skłodowska-Curie's life. And there is actually the best way, I think, to honor her legacy is the new fellowship, which was launched by the International Atomic Energy Agency last year. And coming forward on an annual basis, about 100 women will receive this fellowship to pursue their studies in nuclear security field. And I think this is an amazing opportunity, and I hope that other organizations will find other ways to support women in STEM and in policy throughout the world. And these are just my contact details and more information about my organization. But I just want to finish up with another African proverb, which I think was rephrased, but basically, I think the essence of this proverb is, if you train a woman, you train a nation. So I think the more women we train, the better world we will leave behind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Margarita. Bravo. Now, behind the scenes here, we have a young man, Mutlu Kobia, and he is going to give us, he's a special rapporteur, and that means that he is taking note of everything that's being said. And because of the fact I've known Mutlu a long time, and Manjit certainly has worked with him, the Beijing conference, now is the opportunity to hear from a young person who's achieved a lot and followed the path that everyone has been talking about. He's still very young too. Mutlu.
Well, thank you very much, Afton. And first and foremost, I want to thank Afton and Manjit for organizing this panel, and also Petya, who has done a lot of work to put all of this together and bring us to talk about this important issue of not only identifying the gaps, but also recognizing STEM and what it can do for empowering women. But I think on my end, well, my specialty really is at the moment is human rights. And I just wanted to make a few connections and some links between the STEM and human rights, some of which we've already heard from our panelists who have already very well spoken. And that is one thing that I noted as well was the importance of sharing knowledge and also having someone to mentor other people and to help share that knowledge, get it passed down. I think some other links that I can make as well with, this is just from what I've heard from the panel, from the panelists' presentations, but then the links I wanted to make between the STEM and the human rights was, if we look at previous UN documents, such as CEDAW and even the Millennium Development Goals, as Manjit mentioned, the SDGs, there is the ensuring of empowerment of women, not only in what they're doing, but in various fields as well. So, and we're talking about the various fields of human rights. So, we must include as well, issues regarding their environment, issues regarding social and political rights. And the similarity between that and STEM is that STEM also opens opportunities in various different fields, from mathematics to science and technology. And so in this way, STEM definitely helps women and girls to enjoy the most basic of rights and further their experiences as well, and share these experiences, because as we heard Margarita says, this opens opportunities for networking and dialogue as well. And then also wanted to note in particular, just in case some people are not too aware of what STEM is doing, which I think is highly important, is also developing the skills across these various areas of science and technology, because in a lot of discussions where we tend to kind of miscommunicate is because we don't have the same language skills. So for instance, we can talk as a scientist, but then somebody who specifies in the field of law or politics may not understand properly exactly what we're saying. So what STEM does is develop these skills across the various fields. And the same thing can be said with human rights and even in international law. We have to be aware of these minute changes that we don't realize at the forefront, but it's very important to recognize when we talk in our daily lives and also professional lives. So I think what's also important to note as well is when we're identifying the gaps, as Manjit showed in her presentation, we can see these gaps in numbers. But then we also have to recognize that there are also gaps that we cannot see in numbers. And this is what the personal stories and pictures tell about the success of STEM, but then they also make us realize that there are gaps and there are barriers which we have to overcome. So with this in mind, I think what mentioned is when we talk about women's empowerment, we talk a lot about gender equality, but we don't talk too much about gender equity. But I think what this panel has done has also shown, that we need to be more attentive to gender equity. And I'll just like to thank, Krishna Ahuja Patel, who really stressed on this point of gender equity, and she tried to bring this, not only to the United Nations, but also her mentees. And I think she also wrote a book about this, and she explained it really beautifully. So that's one thing that I think we should keep in mind. But then also we have to recognize and measure, the progress that we have come to as well, both in terms of gender equality and gender equity. And that's coming from, the field of science and our professional lives, but then also in our social lives. And I think those are just some important notes that I wanted to bring to the panel, and also to say that as a recommendation, I strongly would like to recommend that we look at all fields of study, but then also look at the practices which we take upon these fields. And those sometimes come in informal practices, because we have the formal and the informal. So we must not forget the informal ways of communicating, because these are some of the ways we can also overcome the barriers. And on that note, the communication also has to be done in creative ways. And I think, so when we look at science, technology, we also have to think about, the arts as well. And I think it was mentioned before with Mimosa. She's a poet, and she did different writings. So let us not also forget these creative methods of educating others and also communicating with others. And I'll just leave it at that for now. So thank you very much, Afton, and I want to thank the panelists and everybody who's attending this panel. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mutwa. It is always very heartening to see a young person who has taken advantage of some of the opportunities. In this case, it's in Geneva, Switzerland, by furthering his education and, in a sense, very much following the world of his mentors. And, all of you who have been mentors in your own way, in your own countries, in your own areas of expertise. But most of all, I think we need to thank Manjit. She has really, in terms of the fact that this has been a very new platform this year, has had to put it together almost single-handedly. And we couldn't have done it without her, as have her many students in the past seen and done as well. So thank you, especially Manjit. for your many contributions.
Thanks, Afton.
And now I'm not sure exactly how much time we have left.
We have 15 minutes.
And so this means that we can maybe have some questions. And then we are going to have a summary from every one of the panelists too, as well. So I'm trying to see if we have very many from our audience. Because some of the questions we initially asked is and that we heard today is highlights from journeys of women that have actually been scientists in STEM, as well as the challenges they've encountered and strategies for overcoming them in order to move forward. And we've talked a little about the role of mentors and maybe how they found mentors. The speakers have talked about this. And then the most important concept, which really, in terms of my being a pioneer in the years I was at my undergraduate universities, is how did science help you in your life's journey? And I think this has been an invaluable kind of a concept for at least me. Now, I don't see if there are any questions. Do any of you see questions from the audience?
Question in the chat room
Oh.
about mentorship.
Okay, Letitia? I saw that Letitia was commenting, but I'm not sure how to quite get her.
So, Afton,
Can you? Yes.
so what she's asking is, do you think it's better for aspiring women in STEM to have male or female mentors? Question.
Okay.
I can try to answer one.
Yes, that would be good.
Well, actually, I would be grateful for having any mentors, irrespective of whether they are male or female. One. Secondly, having experienced this field for many, many years, actually, for a woman, it might be very interesting to have a male mentor because often they're the ones who are playing the key roles, are invited speakers, are heads of departments, and so on. So if they are willing and they have the time to be able to mentor younger women to see how that works, I think that would be really interesting. My perspective.
Thank you. Yes. Anyone else would like to contribute to that?
Yes, I would like to just say a little here that in my career, I would say that the male mentors or male colleagues have always been the most helpful. For example, the Elsevier Foundation Award that I won, I was nominated by a man. And also a lot of other things that came my way. For example, like Dr. Hubert Foy. He's also a male, and he has thrown a lot of opportunities my way. And so sometimes we actually feel that the male are also very important because if they do support, we get a lot. We get further. We move faster. A longer distance. So, but it would be good to have both a male and female mentor.
Thank you very much.
I would like to add something to this.
Okay.
It is always good to have Pierre Curie to push some wind into your back, and then you will go easily into the men's world, because there is more ease in if there is a male mentor to introduce you into the men's world, and then you can show them that you are practically equal, but there is somebody who needs to take you there first. I think the importance of the men is to find somebody like Pierre Curie, like Mutua, the one who understands the values of a woman in STEM, and take you there and allow you show all your capabilities, all your talents and everything.
Thank you. We had a question from Letitia. we don't see her questions as yet. But Letitia has done much, in terms of in her personal and now her professional life of developing very important in terms of saving women's life through childbirth. And she has worked with the Mother's Legacy Project, and she does have a question regarding women in peacemaking and peacekeeping. I'm not sure if I don't see her question yet.
I've asked her to write the question.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, again, we talked a little about science and how it helped you in your life's journey, and we're running fairly short of time. So unless we get another question, yes, Manjit.
May I ask a question from Mutwa?
Okay.
Please? Because he's seen us trying to struggle with this for 20 years almost in the Geneva area. And as a young man and somebody who cares about this and is very supportive, what can we do to meet, as I said, it's 99.5 years. What could be some idea to perhaps reduce to 50 years to get parity and equity? And I don't mean just equality.
I think that's the million-dollar question. But I think this may also relate a little bit to the previous question and answers that were already made in terms of mentorship and having male mentors to be there to open the doors. But I think, and for me, my mentors has been you and Afton as well. And I think that's important because it allowed me to have an open mind. So I think just very briefly to maybe one thing that can help us get there quicker is to have an open mind and to listen to each other.
Okay, thank you, Mutwa. And here's a question for Margarita. She's being asked how women can enter into a peacemaking career, because the barriers there are enormous.
I hear you. It's a very competitive, I have never tried to apply for a job at the UN, but I've heard that it's a very competitive and it's a very difficult process. So it's, for example, but there are other opportunities. I guess if you're interested in the UN jobs, I don't think I could speak because I haven't worked for the UN system. I work at the NGO in the United States. So, but I know that you have to, general advice would be really, networking, because once people get to know you, recognize your name, that is always, I think, a way to get your foot in the door. Or maybe, have an ally, the organization where you want to apply, who actually, who knows your credentials and your experience. But this would be my advice. But again, maybe other panelists have other ideas. But I hear you, and I hear your concern, because I had a lot of there are also a lot of women who are trying to get jobs at the International Atomic Energy Agency, which, as you may know, is UN nuclear watchdog. So it's hard, but people do get in. It just maybe takes time. And be persistent, and what also sometimes what I think worked for many women I talk to, if you don't get in for one job, try to apply for another job, and eventually, I think your resume and your CV will be noticed, unless I'm completely optimistic about this. But I think maybe Rabia, do you have you're smiling.
Yeah, I think it's like that. Like for the IAEA, you can always register, and then there's a page where you can put in your profile and all your qualifications, and then they say, you have a password, and then they will tell you that you can go in at all anytime. They will let you know which one suits your qualifications, and then they can always search for you. I have been there for like about 2-3
Also, what I
years.
think that maybe
Yes, but
if we,
I've never been contacted yet, but but it's worth just keeping it there. When I spoke to somebody, I said, okay, I had my profile, but nobody else. He said, just keep it there. I waited for like 5 years. And then one day they just said this matched my qualifications, and then I was called. So it's just worth trying. And I agree with you that if you have somebody there in there also, it helps. It helps.
Thank you all for your comments. I think they're very good. And I think we have some people listening to this who have made great contributions in terms of maternal health with Letitia and Anne. Lindsay has mentioned the World Federation for Mental Health in Geneva. And these people are working and watching and join all of you today. We have very little time left, so we'd like to go to each one of you for a very short statement. So let's start with Mimosa, Professor Mimosa.
Thank you, Afton. So I would like to thank you again for inviting me to be part of such an important panel. And I would like to thank Manjit, and I would like to show that she is the example of a person that lifts up the women from the underground, takes them above and pushes them to the sky and tells them that the sky is a limit. So thank you, Manjit, for being. Thank you.
Yes. Mutwa Kobia.
Thank you. I think I'll just end with one thing as well related to Manjit's question about how to reduce the years and the gap is, I think one thing I'd like to relay is to also communicate what we have talked about here to our inner circles. So bring it from outside, closer, innocent, more personal. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mutwa. Manjit?
Well, all I can say is thank you for all your kind words, all of you. I was born in a village where a mother who couldn't go to school was not allowed to go to school. We didn't have gas, electricity, radio, nothing. And I have spent my last 20 years in the most advanced technological place that exists, which is CERN, and also the World Wide Web and everything. So what can I tell you is, if I can do it, so can everybody else. It demands passion, it demands vision, it demands persistence, and you have to keep trying because it's important not just for you, but the world we live in.
Thank you very much. And thank you for all the many contributions you've done to make this happen. You bridged the gap, indeed.
It's a huge gap, but we made a tiny bit footstep.
Right. Flavia.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I would just like to say, to end with this quote from Eleanor Roosevelt, where she says that women are like tea bags, and you never know how strong they are until you immerse them in hot water. So don't mind the challenges, because the challenges will show how strong you are. And we keep doing our jobs. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for participating. We really have appreciated all you've added to this. And last but not least, because she in her presentation really looked towards the future to achieve peace, and that is something that would be a wonderful thing for all of us to see in our lifetimes. Margarita.
Thank you. Just to sum up and looking forward, I think as women in STEM and policy, we can make a huge difference. And I think if we work together, if we have each other's back with the support of men like Mutwa, I am so glad to have a man on the panel too, because you are helping us make the change. Because if we are just talking to ourselves, we are preaching to the choir. We need men like you. And I applaud your comments, which are so, there is an initiative called International Gender Champions Initiative in Nuclear Policy. Maybe this is something that we could launch, International Gender Initiative in STEM. and where we could actually have men and women work on the common goal. And I think the common goal for me is, making this a safer place where our children, grandchildren, could only see peace and not wars. So on this note, I want to thank you, Paul, for being here.
Thank you very much. Well, we've heard from everybody as a summary statement, and we want to thank every one of you, each and every one of you. And also we'd like to thank the people that are listening. We've had some good comments. Amut was going to work on a summary for us with all of the inputs in it. And of course, if you'd like to reach us, I'm sure that you can contact us, and any of the panelists here will be happy to answer any questions. Thank you all so much. Manjit,
Afton,
a last word.
I would like to thank Afton because, we've been thanking everybody else. So Afton, in the background for 20 years, bringing so many young people to the UN, making them aware, understanding young people from the States as to what the UN stands for, what are the visions, what are the possibilities, and how you can move forward. So I'd like to thank Afton, actually, really, because you do all this behind the background, but all of us are really important pieces of the jigsaw to make the full story. Thanks, Afton.
Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for participating, and I think our time is just about up. Okay.
Thank you.